But let's go back and talk a little bit about your career. I mean, you have a Hall of Fame type of a career, and if you were an athlete, you'd be in a Hall of Fame for what the work you've done. They put you on a lot of different lists. Your name is constantly mentioned by a lot of different people. But why don't you walk us back and, share with us a little bit about some of the things you worked on as a DEA agent, and how did the Kiki Camarena project, come to you? Who made the phone call? How did that happen? How did you get that assignment?
Well, I was assigned to work in Mexico, and I was sent to the hottest, most dangerous area, which was the Sinaloa area. Back then, it was a hotbed of violence and drug trafficking. And while there, I was involved in the longest shootout in the history of the DEA. I was involved in a shootout that lasted over 2 hours. During the shootout, we killed numerous Mexican, Colombian drug traffickers. And also we had 5 very seriously wounded MFJP agents. We were able to fight the aggression for, like I said, 2 hours. I was able to get the wounded out. And because of that, I was basically brought back to Washington and issued the U.S. Attorney General's Award for Heroism. That kind of put the spot on me with the agency. At the time that happened, the Camarena investigation had been going on for about 4 years. They needed somebody that could aggressively pursue the perpetrators and somebody that could basically recruit eyewitnesses. So they brought me out of Mexico after that horrendous gun battle, and they put me in charge of the Enrique Camarena case.
What year was that?
That was in 1989.
That was in 1989 when you were put on the case. So the 2-hour shootout in Sinaloa was what, 84, 85?
88.
88. So you got the award in 88, and Reagan was president at the time.
Yes, I believe it was, yes.
Okay.
Yes, Reagan was president at the time.
So you're in Sinaloa. By the way, where are you from yourself originally?
I'm originally from Tucson, Arizona.
You're from Tucson, Arizona. And your family, where's your family lineage from?
Well, I don't want to put out where my family is because I still have to protect them, but they're in Arizona.
But meaning, are you also Mexican yourself?
Well, I'm a Mexican heritage, but I was born in the United States.
Okay.
And my family has been here since the 1700s.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Fair enough. I only asked to know that, if that was like when I was in the military and I was in the army, I speak 5 languages. They wanted to send me to Tikrit to go to Iraq because I spoke Farsi and I spoke all these other languages. And it was a leverage for me for them to leverage somebody like me to go there. I'm wondering if the DEA saw you as being the best person to go out there because you can also connect with the community.
Well, that was one of the reasons I could connect with the community. I knew the culture. I speak Spanish like a native Mexican. I could travel to Colombia, Bolivia, all over Central South America, working undercover, which I did. And I could blend easily, as you stated, because I speak Spanish fluently. When I was undercover in Colombia, I would identify myself as a Mexican citizen. I carried the identifications and credentials of a Mexican individual, and I could easily blend in and out of those countries and pose as a Mexican. And of course, while working undercover here in the United States, I spoke Spanish or speak Spanish so well whenever the traffickers would accuse me of possibly being an undercover DEA agent or a narc, I would say, "Listen, guy, would you help me get some green papers and maybe I can apply and get a job with those guys?" So they really took to me and trusted me a lot.
I can see that. So when you were in Colombia as an undercover, what year was that?
Well, I was there numerous times, 82,
Okay.
Also in the late 70s. I was in and out of Colombia. I was there, I don't know, 5 or 6 times.
So was it during the era of Pablo or no?
Absolutely. During the era of Pablo, I never went undercover into Pablo himself, but I did penetrate the Ochoa organization out of Medellin, Colombia. So yeah, I was in and out of Colombia.
Did you ever do anything with Steve Murphy and Javier Pena or no?
No, because when I would go into Colombia, I would never meet the DEA agent stationed there. I stayed in hotels I only communicated with the agents there via telephone. I was ordered never to go to the embassy, so that in case I was being followed, my undercover situation wouldn't be blown. So no, I never met him, even though I was in and out of Colombia when they were there.
Got it. So 88, you're on that 2-hour shootout, one of the longest ever, if not the longest ever. You get an award for it. You come back in 89, they assign you to go investigate what really happened with Kiki Camarena. Who assigned you, and what is the assignment? Meaning, are they saying, hey, Hector, we want you to find out what really happened to Kiki, and those that assigned you was the DEA. So how was that process of you getting that assignment?
It was out of frustration, I think, because they had a specialized team that came out of New York that were assigned here to Los Angeles to investigate the Camarena murder case. These folks did not speak Spanish. For the most part, they were used to working the Italian mob. They were an elite group, but they did not understand the culture of Mexico. They didn't understand the corruption and how deep it went. As a matter of fact, one time they brought me in from Mexico to ask me about the corruption. This is the Leyenda team that was investigating the case before me. And they asked me about the traffickers having basically carrying federal agent credentials and badges. And I said, no, they just don't carry the credentials and the badges. They hold the positions. And they go, what are you talking about? What I'm talking about is that they not only carry the credentials and the badges, they actually are assigned 30 federal agents under their command. And I went on to give him an example. It would be like John Gotti being issued FBI credentials, but not just the credentials. He would also be a supervisor in the FBI, and they would assign FBI agents under Gotti's command. They said, wow, is it that bad, Hector? And I said, yes, it is that bad in Mexico. These cartel members actually hold government positions in all aspects of law enforcement in Mexico.
And that's because of the corruption back then in the government, or is that's because, that was the model, or because corruption, they're being bought out?
It was corruption had basically been, they took control of everything because of corruption. And it wasn't just back then. It continues to be that situation continues to exist today, and it's even worse today.
It's even worse today than the 80s.
Mexico in the 80s, it was that corrupt.
But it's worse today.
And it's worse today.
Interesting. So you get the assignment, and when you get the assignment, throughout the process, I'm assuming you kind of knew what was going on with Kiki. Were you yourself curious where you really wanted to take the job and go and investigate more for yourself?
Yes. One of the main reasons, too, that I was placed in charge of the investigation is because I had been a homicide detective before I came into the DEA. So they knew that I had homicide experience. When I came into the case, I was told that Camarena had been kidnapped and tortured by the drug lords because he had caused them great losses in seizing 10,000 tons of marijuana at the Buffalo Ranch growing area in Chihuahua, Mexico. That's what I was told and believed until I started looking into the case, and I called the agent that had been in charge of the Buffalo, Chihuahua seizures and asked him what Kiki's involvement was. And he told me, to my surprise, he said, Hector, Kiki Camarena had nothing to do with the seizure of the 10,000 tons of marijuana at Buffalo. I said, are you sure? I am being told here that was the main motive. And he said, Hector, that's a false narrative. They're not telling you the truth. Kiki did not participate in the raids. I know, I ran the raids. So at the very beginning, I started to think something's wrong here. Something doesn't smell right. Then I am able to recruit, believe it or not, a CIA operative working in Mexico. I had witnesses that were telling me that there was this white guy, Anglo, that was working within the Mexican Directorate of Federal Security, the DFS. They called him, his nickname was Torre Blanca because it means White Tower. And they called him White Tower because he was a very tall Anglo guy that was almost 6, 7 feet tall. And I wondered, what is this guy doing working with the DFS in Mexico? That's incredible. I knew that the DFS had something to do with Kiki's kidnapping. So I reached out to this guy. He had to have known what was going on during the time that Camarena was picked up. I called him and I told him, I said, listen, I'm in charge of the Camarena case, and I know you're working with the DFS. And as you and I know, the DFS was involved in the kidnapping of Camarena, and I need you to come talk to me. And he said, I'm not going to talk to you. He said, Hector, you don't even know what you're involved in. He said, leave me alone. And I said, listen, if you don't cooperate with me, I'm going to kidnap your white ass and I'll bring you up here. And you know that I'm serious, and you know that I'll do it because I've already kidnapped one guy out of Mexico, referring to Dr. Machine. And I said, I'll kidnap your white ass. So he said, okay. He said, I'll meet with you. He said, you know, I can't go down there because by then I had a warrant for my arrest for kidnapping Dr. Machine, who had injected drugs into Camarena. So he said, okay. He said, what are we going to do? I said, I want to send some of my agents to meet with you in Guadalajara, and I want you to talk to them, but I really need you to come to the United States and talk to me. So basically, I sent 4 agents down there. They set up a meeting at a hotel room in Guadalajara. An agent from Mexico City by the name of Dale Simpson shows up, and he says he's been told to participate in the interview. My agents called me and they said, hey, something strange has happened. He said, another agent from Mexico City just arrived by the name of Dale Stinson, who said he's been ordered to partake in the interview with Harrison. I said, I don't have a problem. Go ahead and let him participate. Well, this DEA agent named Dale Stinson requested to speak with Larry Harrison alone, without basically away from being observed by my agents. He met with Larry in the hotel room alone. 3 minutes later, Larry Harrison, the CIA guy, comes out and says, hey, listen, I want nothing to do with you guys. I don't want to cooperate, and left, upset. My agents then asked Dale Stinson, what happened? And he said, well, I don't know. I guess the guy's got cold feet. He doesn't want to cooperate after all. And that was it. They came back empty-handed. It took me a year to find this guy again because he went and hid. I finally found him hiding in the Oaxaca mountains of Mexico. I got him on the phone again, and I said, Larry, you need to come talk to me. There's no place you can run or hide. You see, I will always find you. You better come over here and cooperate with me. He said, okay, I'll agree to meet with you, but only in the United States, and nobody must know that I'm coming. We flew him to Los Angeles. I met with him. And during my initial interview, he told me, he said, Hector, he says, you don't know what you've gotten yourself into. We killed Kiki Camarena. I said, what do you mean we? He says, we both work for the same government. I'm a CIA operative. He said, and Camarena was ordered, kidnapped, and to be interrogated by my agency, the CIA, and NSC. I almost fell out of my chair. I said, what are you telling me? He says, yes. He says, we use the cartels to assist us in kidnapping him and interrogating him. I did not participate myself, but he said my handler did. And I was shocked. I gathered there was something very sinister from the very beginning of the investigation, because I had worked in Mexico, and the drug dealers, they don't take time to kidnap a guy, blindfold him, interrogate him, make copies of the interrogation. When the cartel wants to kill somebody, they machine gun him down wherever he's at. They'll walk into an office, shoot somebody in an office, kill somebody in his car, kill somebody in front of his family in his house. But this was a very sinister, very strange investigation. Why was Kiki blindfolded? And why was he tape recorded? And Harrison gave me the answer because they wanted to know what he knew. What had happened, as I stated before, Camarena unknowingly, okay, found out that tons of cocaine were being flown into Caro Quintero's ranch in Veracruz. So he started an investigation into that ranch in Veracruz. What Camarena did not know was that that ranch was being used by the NSC and the CIA to train Contras, and they were using that as a transshipment location to ship weapons from there directly to Ilipango, where they were later issued to the Contra freedom fighters.
To contact freedom fighters. Okay, let me go back to one thing you were telling the story about. You said, if you don't tell me, Larry, I'm going to come and kidnap your ass because you know I have a reputation of doing that. So this is 30-something years ago, 81, say 31 years ago, 30 years ago. What kind of a reputation did you have yourself? Were you somebody they feared? Were you cold? Who were you with your reputation you had built in a marketplace, in your world?
In my world, I was chasing the big elephants, the big cartel guys in Mexico. I got in numerous shootouts with him. The shootout at the 2-hour shootout that we referred to earlier, that was just one of the shootouts that I had been involved in Mexico. They knew that I was hands-on down there chasing them. I had a reputation of a badass. I mean, they knew that I would go toe to toe with them. They knew that I was not afraid of them, that I was constantly chasing them.
Why were you not afraid of them?
I was afraid of them, but I had a job to do. And I guess I was an adrenaline junkie. I like to be in dangerous situations, like these fighter pilots. I mean, you get the adrenaline going and you kind of get addicted to it. And I guess I was an adrenaline addict. I don't know.
Makes sense. I mean, it's a very common thing with folks in your world that they get addicted to it. Once they get in, you realize very quickly if it's something for you or not, or if you get addicted, you're in, you may not be able to stop doing it. And it's tough to step away from it. So later on, you're doing this, you talk to Larry, he says, you said, what do you mean we, as in we're all on it together. Why did they blindfold him? Because he had some information. So as you're going about telling your story, what happens next?
Well, Larry explains to me that the reason they blindfolded him was because the people that wanted him interrogated basically were Americans. And there was going to be at least one American that was going to be interrogating Kiki. The plan was not to kill him. The plan was to kidnap him, bring him to a place, interrogate him, waterboard him, not physically, kick him, beat him, which they did. He was supposed to be waterboarded by a waterboarding expert. Their own guy, a CIA operative, was supposed to do the interrogating of Camarena and the waterboarding. And I later identified who this CIA operative was.
So you later identify who the CIA operative was. This the person you're talking to, or the person that was supposed to waterboard him?
No, the person that was supposed to waterboard him, another major CIA operative, a well-known CIA operative, the CIA operative that kidnapped or basically tracked down Che Guevara in South America and Bolivia and killed him and cut his hands off. The same CIA operative that was involved in putting a bomb on a plane that was leaving Venezuela with the Cuban fencing team, blew up in the air. The same Cuban that had been assigned to run operations in Vietnam, operations interrogating Viet Cong. He was a major supervisor in Operation Phoenix in Vietnam, a very well-known CIA operative, and a very personal friend of ex-President George W. Bush.
Is this a name you've revealed in the book or no?
Is his name revealed in the book? Yes, it is.
What's his name?
Ismael Felix Rodriguez.
Ismael?
AKA, yes, Ismael Felix Rodriguez, AKA Max Gomez. It took me a long time to identify this guy by true name because the witnesses knew him only as Max Gomez.
Did you ever get a chance to meet him face to face?
No, but I would love to.
You would love to meet him.
Yes.
Let's just say you did. What would you do to him?
Well, if I would have met him when I was with DEA, I would have put him in handcuffs. And if I was to meet him now, I'd probably give him one beating for Kiki Camarena.